I want to hear more your take because I disagree, kinda. So Ryan Grimm, he replaced Crystal Ball on Monday's The Hill Show, Rising with Saagar. And Saagar and him, they had a section where at least the headline says how politics change forever on Israel-Palestine. And pretty much the argument that Ryan Grimm bases himself is that now they are in Congress and he points out the people, right? For instance, like Ilan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, even AOC and other ones who've come out and criticized, Israeli attacking Gaza and everything else going on in Israel-Palestine. But I mean, I found like at least the headline is too strong here, the headline of their video. The article focuses on Congress, so sure, parts of Congress, but I don't fully agree. I mean, they themselves talk about how Biden has like the most old school US view right now on the situation between Israel and Palestine. And yes, some people in Congress are, of course, able to say perhaps more easily criticize Israel. But I mean, the people who've made it, I think it has more to do with them particularly than the politics changing. You know what I mean? Like Ilan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, these are all people who would have, you would expect. I mean, Rashida Tlaib, I believe she has Palestinian background. She has a Palestinian background. So, I mean, they would come out, and of course, and I don't think they were in Congress. None of them were in 2014, because that's not my
Well,
sentiment is
that
that if, sorry, I'm just going to finish it. Comparing to 2014, the politics hasn't changed that much. Back then in 2014, people were critical about a little bit, but the administration wasn't at all. And sure, some people in Congress are a bit more critical now of Israel. But yeah, I don't find that the politics has changed significantly. Back then, the Europeans were already a bit more critical. That is the case. But yeah, what do you make of it?
look. I think the foreign policy, I don't think has changed, or the significant, like, I don't think a new important factors have been introduced in foreign policy decision making regarding Israel and Palestine, right? That's one thing. But I think what they're referring to is the fact that 4 years ago, 2014, if you expressed a slight support for Palestinians, or if you expressed a slight criticism of Israeli actions, you while in a political office, you would be booed out. You would have to resign. Nowadays, in internal American politics wise, criticism of Israel, support for Palestinians, to a very, very limited extent. Support for Palestinians in terms of support, not for military, like not for any actions, support for their rights, really. So that has become tolerable, and you can say that's a big change. Uh, so I think you're right, largely. I mean, there is no meaningful change, but I do think they have a point in that about 10 years ago, you couldn't even, I mean, besides Bernie Sanders, there was nobody who ever criticized Israel. And Bernie Sanders, I think, got a pass because he was a socialist slash communist, and he was also Jewish. He's of Jewish descent, so it was hard to. And he was not a. That's, to be honest, that's what I'm gonna get into. I do think, though, I think they're misreading the situation. They say there is a sea change in the grassroots and in the thinking. I don't think that's the thing. Uh, it's kind of like Noam Chomsky. Like, there's these great interviews with Noam Chomsky, and he says that if you compare talks that I give now compared to 40 years ago, obviously progress has been made. 40 years ago, you couldn't talk about a lot of things, and if you, for example, talked about, for example, let's say gay issues or some issues, you would be attacked, you would be harassed and all that. So some progress has been made, blah, blah, blah. Or if you, for example, if you, many years ago, if you were known to be a communist, that could, you know, jeopardize your health pretty much. So I think, yes, sure, things have changed, but I think what has changed is that uh, they are no, like, Palestinians are no longer a threat. The idea of a two-state solution, in my view, and a lot of different people's views, including, by the way, Kyle Klinsky, is a dead idea. There is not going to be like with the settlement buildings that has already happened, and I don't see any way of Israelis reversing settlement building. There is no viable Palestinian state, right? Uh, so, right now Palestinians are no longer threats, basically. They're at the mercy of Israel, Saudi Arabia, America, that type of thing. I mean, they have a few rockets, but, as Norman Finkelstein put it, they're mostly projectile, not even rockets. So I think they're no longer a threat. So when you're no longer a threat, that's how liberal, I think, democracy, like the modern version at least, that's how it works. When you're no longer a threat, you can, as long as you're not a threat, you can go ahead and talk and be free. And Julian Assange is in jail, but a lot of people who reported the same thing in New York Times are not, because they are not a threat. So Palestinians are no longer a threat. So it's not as so. Israeli lobby doesn't spend maybe as much time destroying every single candidate, because it's not as important for them anymore. Kind of like communists. Communists are no longer a threat. So why should we try to, stamp them out or whatever?
Yeah, no, I think I agree pretty much with what you're saying, and yeah, it made me think that perhaps the Israeli lobby has become a bit weaker, at least in the United States at the public level, and persuading like what some politicians want to say and the media. Because yeah, that's how I see it. That some are able to, if they want to now, to criticize Israel, if they want to more, if it's kind of the reasons that you were saying, but yeah, not in that drastic or all-encompassing way that at least I got from the headline of that video. And when they talked about it a bit, and also what threw me off in that video is that Saagar kind of made a counter argument, because he said that during the Bush era they would criticize like bombing of Gaza if the excuse were the rockets, but under Obama that became legitimate.
No,
That kind of
that's yeah.
excuse.
Since George Bush was the last president who actually, I think, criticized Israel.
Yeah,
Since Obama, they never criticized Israel. I think Obama, out of the fear that he's going to be called this
yeah.
socialist or communist, and Trump because he loved them. But no, he's. I mean, look, he's contradicting himself in a bit, but I think again that's more.
I
That's
probably contradicted myself 9 times. So I know I'm like over
no.
analyzing this one video, but because I don't know, this video really caught my attention.
No, but U.S. government occasionally criticizes Israel. But I think what they're talking about is the fact that before 10 years ago, if you were a candidate for, let's say, I don't know, for a treasurer in a small town, and you expressed a slight support for Palestinians, you would probably get destroyed. There would be a political campaign against you.
Yeah,
They called Rove you. They destroy your life or something. But nowadays, maybe like nowadays people, even if they try to do that, they're not as successful. Maybe because people with social media, I think that's what they're talking about. But I think that doesn't matter that much. That people with social media see the real picture, and you can't just say, oh,
well,
he's anti-Semite and he's
yeah,
destroyed in the race. So yeah,
yeah,
I think that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about governmental policy. They're talking about politics in terms of domestic
yeah.
level.
The politics. No, I see, I get it. But let's barely move on, but not really, because I was gonna say, sticking to the hill, I've actually been quite surprised by the reporting of the show The Rising, and particularly Saagar. I guess when it comes, I just found that they made like 2 or 3 videos on the Israel-Palestinian issue just yesterday. And not only did I, largely agree with the narratives and the way that they were talking about it, but I was just surprised that Saagar, this was an issue that it seemed like it interested him. I would have imagined that it's like an issue that he would have dismissed, because I mean, he comes from a slightly different political background. Of course, people have this show window, and sometimes when he's not into some things, he's very dismissive, and it just like moves on. Maybe it's more crystal ball talking. So I was surprised to hear
To
that
me,
this is something he knew about and he seemed interested about.
I think the thing is though it is consistent with his political background because he's sort of a conservative, traditional conservative American in a way that they are isolationist
Hmm.
kind of. So they don't like any like they don't like the big financial supports for Israel. They don't like the big military support for Israel or any other nation. So I think it is consistent with his background, but I see what you mean because he's the conservative guy. You would think he's
Yeah.
in support of,
I mean, I
war.
wouldn't think that he would be like supportive of the Israeli side, but kind of, be like,
Who
you know what I mean?
cares?
Like, yeah, exactly. Be like agnostic on.